Excuse me. The stream audio is broken. Excuse me. The stream audio is broken.
Or not?
The stream audio is broken.
Or not?
I'm unused as if there was an audio and I also wasn't hearing anything, that's why. Yeah, I can hear stuff now. Hello.
Yes, hello.
Hello.
Hello. I'm Taiko. Many of you probably know me out there. Next month will be my 4th active year in the community since February 2019. Been around for a very long time. So I think most of you know me. I've held almost every government role that you can basically name off. I've been senator, Supreme Court justice, imperial judge, minister of journalism, so many different roles. And I believe this is one of the things that makes me most qualified to be in the role of president. I have many qualifications. I've done so much for the community. I've been involved in so many of the different laws and things. It's quite interesting. I'm friends with most of the different government roles around here, so I can work quite well with most of the people. I've been the advisor for Prime Minister Silly. I've worked along with Emperor Kobe quite a bit, I believe. I've worked with most of my opponents in this race on many different things. Allegate has started working in Pug News. Danny has also worked at Pug News, but all the candidates here, I believe, are friends, so okay, I'll wrap it up. So yeah, basically, I'm one of the most qualified people to be in this role. I've been active for nearly 4 years. I've done so much for this community, and I want to keep doing things in the role of president. Thank you. Yeah.
Sure. Hello, I am Dan. So first of all, the point of my campaign is I just want to my first goal is unity, so I want to work closely with everyone. I don't want to cause any trouble or anything, cause any drama. I think I have shown that I have pretty decent character when in positions of power. Obviously, that there was the exception of the speaker, which I didn't have much time to do anything because we were on recess for half of it, and the other half of time we weren't really the Senate wasn't doing anything, and we didn't have no one was motivated at all. And so in terms of legislation, I want to do the VOOPERIAN Bureau of Investigation. So I want to the VOOPERIAN Bureau of Investigation is going to be the Attorney General and all that stuff. So we're going to rely less on things like vigilante justice and all that. For economic stuff, I think we need to prepare for SV2, but I also think that it's going to be hard to predict what's going to happen. So I'm going to make sure I'm actively popping problems while they're coming up. For the court, how much time do I have? Oh, okay. So for the court, I am obviously the courts have been slow, and I think that's part of that is because it's hard. There's not too many well-defined procedures and regulations that the courts actually have to have. So it's pretty random, and people obviously I would know people are kind of just randomly giving their thoughts, and they're no one's actually working too hard. So I think having a more laid out system of deliberation and stuff would be really useful. And I also believe that I could do some good roleplay events. Obviously, Alligate has experience, but I believe I could also bring some good roleplay to the table.
Sure.
All right. I think this is actually the friendliest presidential election we've ever had. I mean, in these opening statements, I'm hearing both candidates so far just throwing compliments around and saying nice things, which is good. It's good to hear. Anyway, I'm Alligate. I'm sure you've all heard of me, probably not in a good way. I am focused on the roleplay aspect of this. I'm fairly good with VOOPERIAN politics, but primarily I want to focus on bringing actual roleplay back to Spook Vooper, because I think it's something we're missing. And we've had a little bit of revival in the past month, and I want to capitalize on that. So that's sort of my policy. And I did not know we were doing opening statements, so I do not have anything else to say.
All right. I think everybody on stream can finally hear me now. I just realized that I was muted in OBS. I just
Oh my God.
I know. It is unfortunate. No one could hear my beautiful stuff, but basically, candidates get 1 minute to answer questions. Opening statements are 2 minutes. We are almost done with opening statements, actually. And Dania, you are good to go next. Dania? Dania? All right. We're going to just move on to questions then, because Dania.exe stopped working. Unfortunate. Yeah, we're going to move right on to questions now. That's the end of your time. All right. We are moving on to questions. So, we're going to jump right in, get this first question done. I just want to make this clear. These are going to be simple questions, and some are going to be pointed, but this one is going to be a good general question. All right. Just a basic starting question. Candidates, what sets you apart from every other candidate on stage? I want to start with Danny.
All right, so I believe I could bring some active and a unique perspective on the government, because Taiko has been there for a while, yes, but I think I could bring something better to the table. I think I could work with people more. I think I could just create better legislation and work with others in a better way. So with the courts, I think I have a decent amount of experience. Taiko was in the courts previously, but I'm currently in the courts. So once I go into the presidency, I'll have more recent experience, and I'll know the problems that are currently going on in the court, and I'll know how to fix that. I also think that I will be able to do good RP, and I believe that although some candidates may have more experience than me, I think I will be able to do great RP. And I hope my RP will be unique and different, and it will be less fighting each other and more unifying RP.
15 seconds.
That is all.
All right. Thank you, Danny. Like I said earlier, if anyone would like to rebut, just say something. We're going to go and move on to Dania, if Dania wants to speak. The question I will repeat. I'll repeat the question. The question is, what will set you apart from the other candidates on stage? Go ahead. Dania. All right. Dania has just announced that he's dropping out. So, interesting plot twist. All right. I guess we will be moving on to here. There we go. Now we're going to be moving on to Alligate. Alligate, go ahead and answer the question. It is, what sets you apart from the other candidates on stage?
All right, thank you. I mean, there's the fairly obvious and big thing, which is the Lanesha War, which Spike sort of based Vooper on, and I will say I did help him write some of that. And also, as I said in my opening statement, I'm very, very involved in the roleplay. Probably more so than any other candidate here combined. In fact, I think I checked, and I have 8,000 or so messages in the roleplay channels, while Danny and Tycho combined have 87.
Wow,
That's all.
That's a lot. Thank you for that, Alligate. Tycho, you are free to go. The question is, what sets you apart from the other stage? 1 minute starts now.
Well, I would say there's quite a few things that set me apart from the other candidates. I'm a very well-rounded candidate. Like some candidates like Alligate, they focus on the roleplay. Danny he's more law-oriented, but when it comes to me, I'm basically cover everything. I cover all the bases. I write laws and I work with that section. When it comes to roleplay, I've recently been roleplaying quite a bit with the whole VSS cover-up Phantasma thing. I've been writing pub news articles and roleplaying in that, which I haven't actually seen Alligate participate in all. It appears he only cares about roleplay that he controls, which is interesting. But I'm a very well-rounded candidate. I have a lot of experience and I'm very active, which I think that sums it up quite clearly. Thank you.
Perfect. Your time's done. Alligate, would you like to rebut to that?
Why, yes, I'm glad you predicted that. I just want to point out that I have, in fact, reacted to the Phantasma thing, and Lanesha is currently on a Stage 3 alert, but it's in government channels, so you can't see it, sadly.
I think Tycho's statement was more around the fact that you only want to participate in the stuff that you create. Yeah.
Well, I'd say that's not true. Because
Could
I
I-
haven't had the chance to create much.
Yes, Danny, after Alligate.
Danny can go. I want to hear what he has to say.
All right, go ahead, Danny.
So this is less like, so I didn't have like, you kind of like went straight over to Tycho after Alligate finished, so is it possible I could rebut something Alligate said?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
So he's talking about the RP channels, but a lot of people don't use those. Like the Prime Minister doesn't use those. Almost every single senator doesn't use those. I feel like a lot of people don't actually find the RP channels engaging. And I think that's why a lot of people aren't active in them, including myself.
Fair enough. Thank you, Danny. Anyone else would like to rebut to that?
I would.
Sure.
Again. I think that we should really focus on getting people more involved in those. Because, for example, as you said, if the Prime Minister isn't using them, or any of the other important people, then why would anybody else? So we need to encourage activity in those.
Mm-hmm. All right, thank you. If there's no other rebuts,
I agree with that.
Yeah, good. If there's no other rebuts, we'll move on to the next question. All right. This next question is also pretty general. It is, why should Vooperians trust you with the highest elected position? Alligate, you may go first.
Oh god. Of course it starts with me for this. Okay. Gonna be honest, most people probably don't find me trustworthy, especially for this. But I give every Vooperian my promise that I will keep all Senate politics out of this position. I will not be biased towards any district. I will not show favor to Lanesha. And hopefully you all know that I keep my promises.
Perfect. Thank you for that, Alligate. Tycho, would you like to go?
Sure. Can you repeat your question, please?
Yeah, sure. Why should Vooperians trust you with the highest elected position?
Well, I believe I'm trustworthy when it comes to the president because I already hold a few high-ranking roles. Because I'm the election manager. I make the forms for the election. I control the elections. And never in my almost 2 years of running elections have we ever had a major election fraud or issue come up about that. A very honest person. I don't lie about my intentions or what I'm doing very much. I'm clear, I try to be concise, and generally I think I'm pretty trustworthy
30
when it
seconds.
comes to being the president. So, yeah.
Thank you, Tycho. Danny, would you like to go? The question is, why should Viperians trust you with the highest elected position?
All right, so I believe I'd be a pretty trustworthy candidate. So you could like I know some people may not trust me because of what happened with the speaker, but I do understand that I was not very active. But I believe that like my activity in like so before the server was deleted in the lower court, that the lower court was running really efficiently when I was leading it, and I think I could bring something like that into the presidency and make like be efficient and lead that properly. And I also believe that like I'm gonna work with others. I'm not just gonna be like, oh, my way or the highway. I'm gonna make sure I work with others, compromise if needed. I'm not just gonna do whatever I think is best. I'm gonna do what the people think is best.
Awesome. Thank you, Danny. Just for the candidates to know, I've just created a channel above this channel. I don't know if you see it, rebut. It's only able for us to see. If you would like to rebut, just ping me in that channel, and I'll make sure that I get you in. Would anybody like to rebut to anything anyone said? All right, then we will move on to the next question. This next question is we're starting to get into the meat of the pie. We're really diving in there. This question is, in your opinion, as a candidate, which will you prioritize most? Role play, economy, or law? And how do you plan to tackle it? We'll start with Tycho.
Well, as many have said, I'm more of a law person. I write the laws, I read the laws. I'm very much so a law person. But I believe that the laws are basically the backbone of the government, and without those, everything falls into chaos. The courts fall apart because they don't have clear laws, which starts to break the role play. Everything starts to break down without clear laws. So when people start to try to focus on certain aspects without taking into account the law, they're basically forgetting everything that maintains the community. And what I'm really about is stability and helping us change into a better form of ourselves. So we really need the law if we want to be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Tycho. Alligate, would you like to go next? The question is, in your opinion, as a candidate, which will you prioritize most? Roleplay, economy, or law? And how do you plan to tackle it?
Well, I think everyone knows my answer to the first half of that question, so I'll go to the second half. I hope to focus more on roleplay, and specifically, we need something for the average citizen to do. Because as I say in my platform right now, you can only participate really if you're in the army, which does nothing, or if you run a business, which also does nothing, or if you're in a government position. Now, all of those either do nothing or are very exclusive. So if we can have something for everyone to do, to just be an average citizen in Vooperia, then I think that would be a great stepping stone to fixing all of our roleplay issues.
All right. You can repeat if you like. All right, so I think like the economy is directly tied to the law. That's going to be pretty obvious. It's because like law change is going to cause the economy to move around and like it's going to start up the economy and so forth, and it's going to like make SV2 like actually like it's going to have all the legislation that SV2 needs. So obviously, economy is very much tied to the law. But with RP, I think RP could be very easily not too connected to the law, as Tycho may be saying. Because like RP, like if you go into the RP channels, although I think they need to be improved, they're not really that much tied to the law. Sure, there are RP lawsuits and stuff, but that's not making more laws isn't going to change those RP lawsuits from happening. So I think RP needs to be focused on and law needs to be focused on. I think those are the biggest priorities here.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that response, Danny. Is there anybody that would like to rebut or disagree or even agree with anything anyone said so far?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Tycho.
Well, I do have to agree on the point of Danny when he said that law isn't entirely connected to the roleplay. I do still think it's very important, but okay, let me recoup my thoughts there. I do think it's still very important, but the roleplay definitely needs some work, but I was under the impression that we were choosing our number one thing, so I would make it law, roleplay as a pretty close second, and then the economy. Yeah.
Tycho, thank you for your rebut. Is there any other rebuts, or shall we move on? All right, we will move on now. All right, the next question is a question regarding SV 2.0. And, you know, there's a lot of controversy around SV 2.0. Is it going to happen? When is it going to happen? Is it even going to happen? These are questions that a lot of VOOPERians ask time and time again. And I'd like to just ask the question. Candidates, how will you prepare the community and government for the transition to SV2? We will begin with Danny.
Alright, so SV2 has been pretty vague, so I'll try to work like very closely with Spike to actually get some details and like be able to fully like grasp some ideas to help prepare the community. Since it's really vague right now, I'm not quite sure how the exact details, but I'll make sure to, as president, to work closely with Spike to get those details, and I'll draft all the proper legislation needed, and I'll prepare the community by just talking to them, getting a grasp of what people think, and maybe even talking to Spike about what people think and seeing if he could work with those ideas.
Thank you so much, Danny. Alligate, you may go next.
Thank you. I am actually currently working on portions of SV2 with the help of Jacob, Spike, and Wizard. So I think if I also keep very close to Spike with working on this, then we can easily transition. I'd like to actually implement the SV 2.0 systems in our current government before we switch over to SV 2.0 as sort of a test or a proof of concept. And that way we can really figure out how to get good, proper systems before we need to rely on them.
All right. Thank you, Alligate, for that. Tycho, you can go. Or would you like me to read the question again?
Sure.
All right. The question is, candidates, how will you prepare the government and community for the transition to SV 2.0? You may go ahead.
Well, I think we definitely need a smooth transition to SV2 because it's hopefully going to overhaul our community into something even better. But we definitely need to prepare the community the best we can to have a clear, straightforward path to SV2, and we need to prepare for any bugs that we might end up with along the way. Because we have to, of course, remember the first SV, which had its own multitudes of issues and which is currently dead in a pit right now, unfortunately. But I think as president, I would be able to assist the emperor and everyone else who's working on it in making it the best it can be, and to try to make sure that it's an enjoyable experience and it's not a dumpster fire, which would be bad.
All right. Thank you, Tycho. We will now, if there's would anybody like to agree with anyone else or have any discussion on a specific issue? All right, then we will move on to the next question. Are there any major changes that you plan on making? And if so, how do you plan on making them? And what do you plan on making? We'll start with Tycho.
Well, when it comes to making changes, there's quite a few different things that I want to do. Many of them to do with the law and making it clear and more concise. One of the things I mentioned was a full code of law with all the laws in it to make it easier for officials to make new laws. I started on phase 1 of that plan already by making a code of laws with just the laws in it. But after that, I think there's quite a lot that can be done, and working with the Senate and I've seen Coca mentioning things like an arbiter system for the roleplay, which I think would be very beneficial. I think that should be quite separated from the government, though. But I would like to assist in that, since having good roleplay is also important, and we need to enhance all the aspects of our community to get to the best place that we can actually be at.
Thank you, Tycho. We'll move on to Alligate.
Thank you. I have several major changes that I'd like to make. One of them being what Tycho wants to do, which is the arbiter system made by Coca. Coca has shown me his proposal, and it's very promising, and I think it could solve a lot of our sort of roleplay issues about what can be allowed and what can't be allowed and all those. And I'd also like to integrate the economy into the roleplay a lot more. I want to establish some sort of housing system, and as I said, all the ways for the average citizen to be the average citizen, which is going to be very difficult, but I am happy to work with Coca, Jacob, and anyone else who has any good ideas on that.
Perfect. Thank you, Alligate. Dan, would you like to go?
Can I make a rebuttal first?
Yeah, sure.
All right, so Alligate. So like a housing system and stuff, that would be very dependent on Nerdcraft or something, because a lot of people just aren't going to want to pretend like, oh, I have to buy a house for 1 million credits. No one's really actually going to want to do that. And like a lot of other goods, like they're just not going to want to buy that. So how would that actually be dealt with?
Can I respond?
Sure.
Alright. That is actually a very good question, and it is probably the main issue that I'm facing with that. So either we get Nerdcraft, or that has to wait until SV 2.0, when Spike can code some way in for people to have houses or stuff like that. But we could also try to have it in Discord, where maybe people have channels, or access to a channel if they have a house, which would be very complicated and probably very annoying to manage. But again, I want to have a lot of input on this so I can find a good way to do it.
All right, that's fair. Dan, would you like to answer the question originally, though?
Yes, I would. So I think some of my key policies, so first of all, the court reform is definitely necessary because the courts are moving slowly, and I think we need to have some more guidance for the court, because a lot of people don't actually just give their thoughts and then just leave. I also think that impeachment should be changed, because right now, it's really impeachment is pretty political in Spook Vooper. So I think making it so the Supreme Court, once the Supreme Court is made efficient again, making it so the Supreme Court has to actually find people being impeached guilty of breaking some kind of law is going to be important, because senators shouldn't just be impeached, or whoever shouldn't just be impeached because for political reasons. They should actually be impeached for committing a crime or something, or they're not doing their job or so forth. So I also believe the VOOPERIAN Bureau of Investigation would be really useful. I've already talked about this. So having an attorney general, making it so we're less reliant on vigilante justice.
All right. Your time is coming to its conclusion, but just finish your statement.
I also would like to work on some more unifying roleplay, such as doing some intergalactic stuff.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much, Danny, for that. It looks like Alligate would like to rebut.
Yes, you talk about impeachments being very political, but were you not the one that introduced the impeachment on me for virtually no reason?
I do believe that there was a reason for that, but as you said, you were using your position of senator to benefit yourself. You said you put the impeachment out because... I can get the exact quote if you'd like. You said that someone asked why you were impeaching someone asked, you admitted that it was going to personally benefit you. Right? It was a removal of someone from minister, and you said that it's going to personally benefit you because you're the best possible candidate to replace them. And then for whatever reason, that was deemed just not liking you, despite you literally said you did it, and you were thinking that you were going to be the one to replace them.
Interesting.
Very.
Now, I think this is the perfect opportunity for me to shift into some more personal questions for the candidates. These questions are going to be hard-hitting, direct, and important questions for each candidate. All of you have had some not good things in the past, and that's what I'm about to focus and ask you about. All right, so I'm just going to start with Tycho. Tycho, you struggled to attend tonight's debate, let's be completely honest. Being how you have to work around your family's schedule, how can Vooperians trust that in a time of need you'll be there?
I believe that this is a very unfair question because many of the candidates do in fact have lives. Alligate has talked about having a life. Danny, I don't know. But it is a terrible question because it simply does not relate to community. I'm basically 24/7 available on the weekends. I'm almost always active. I have thousands of messages, tens of thousands of messages. And this is simply a terrible question. Why? You couldn't even dig up anything bad about me in the past.
Emperor himself
You,
criticized
that
it
was in
and
a private
concerned.
channel. It's simply, you couldn't dig up anything actually negative on me, so you went after.
There was something.
You went after.
All right,
you
your
went
time
after-
is up, Mr. Senator Tycho. We're going to move now on to Danny. Danny, during your tenure as Speaker and Senator, you did little to nothing. How can Vooperians trust you to do your job as President?
So for Speaker and Senator, so for Senator and Speaker, I was, for half of my term, we were in recess. So that's one of the reasons. And like the Senate was just very inactive at that time. No one was actually like felt the need to do anything, and it was just no one was motivated at all. So I think it's unfair to say it was just me when a lot of people weren't motivated. And I also believe that like I'm gonna do a lot better as president. I am motivated to do a lot of things here. And I believe that like as I'm motivated to do a lot of things, I'll be a lot more active than Speaker. And to be honest, with Speaker, I just reacted that then a lot of people supported me, and I was like, okay, I guess I'll do this, even though I wasn't actually too intent on actually doing it.
All right. I just wanted
Which is,
to note,
sorry,
though,
no, I have more.
yeah,
Which is
okay.
not the opposite of what I was, like, I wasn't intent on doing Speaker, but I'm very intent on doing this.
Perfect.
So these are completely different things.
I was going to say, though, as your job as Speaker is to ensure that the Senate is running and that it's active. Your job in itself.
My job as Speaker is just to manage the Senate.
Yes, but you were the leader of the Senate. It's your job to be the leader and to guide other senators.
Speaker is just managing it.
Yes,
the prime minister has historically taken on that role of acting as the leader of the Senate.
All right, we're gonna move on to Alligate. Alligate, you ready for this question?
Oh boy. Yep.
Alligate, you've had some very controversial past things, and now
That's an understatement.
Let me restate this. Alligate, you have had a controversial past and have been known to abuse your power. You've stated that those days are long gone and won't happen again. Why should Vooperians trust you with the presidency with so many corruption scandals and power grabs?
Whoa. Corruption? There was never any corruption. There was war, but not corruption. I am not a corrupt senator. Honestly, that is just slander.
I told you these were going to be hard-hitting questions, all of you.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I'm pretty used to that. Anyway, in case people haven't noticed, Lanesha has not directly started a war in a little while. There was the whole Remus conflict, but that was resolved peacefully, thankfully. And recently there has been ICO, but Lanesha has been at the forefront of resolving that issue as well, despite Voopmontian rejection of our treaties. So that has in fact changed. And there's also the change that our government is properly functional now, and it yells at me if I do anything dumb, which is what I expect to happen if I am president. You know, having a good cabinet to yell at me if I do anything dumb.
Thank you. Would anybody like to rebut to anybody so far? Anything that you're on your mind that you would like to state? All right. we'll move on to some more questions that are pointed. All right. This one is directed at you, Tycho. Tycho, your platform seems a little bit too good to be true, and a lot of your and you promise a lot of major changes. How can VOOPERians trust that you'll stay true to your word with such big and slightly vague promises?
Well, I don't see how many of my promises are super vague or crazy. I promised like a code of laws. I've already started working on that. I've made it publicly available, and I've made it clear that I intend to do these things. Let me see what other. I'm questioning you now. What other things may you be thinking are too big, too true, too good to be true in my platform?
Well, it's less of the fact that it's too good to be true, and it's more of the fact that you promise a lot in your platform. And politicians are known to not exactly live up to all of their promises. That goes back to my question, how can VOOPERians trust that you'll get it all done?
Well, I would do my best to get it done. Well, let's see. Well, I suggested a district template, which I've seen some people dislike, but I still think it might be smart to have something more to have a stepping stone for districts to get involved more. There's a code of laws. With excessive bureaucracy, I talked about improving the parliamentarian system, which has already been done.
Mm-hmm.
There's the whole election overhaul thing, which I can basically do at a snap of my fingers right now, which I've been thinking about doing recently, but I need to write that down more clearly. There's the whole court thing. I've written like 8-page court documents in the past. I have one ready already to propose. I just haven't yet. There's the ministry thing. I've been supporting some of the ministries recently, such as the Minister of Journalism, by basically reviving the system. I talk about the economy, which I do believe is basically dependent on SB2, although I have seen good things out there when it comes to Newsman's job server and things such as that, which I should probably join. And I believe these are all very good ideas that we could do, and it's not super crazy or complicated or over-promising, I don't think. Thank you.
Yep. Alligate has asked to rebut. Go ahead, Alligate.
Yes, I would just like to ask Tycho why he has not introduced these things already. If he can do them without being president, then he should.
I've already done some of these things already, and then you realized that, and then you started doing things. I just haven't done them yet since I haven't really written them down properly. And I do intend to do it no matter what.
And that goes back to my question. How can the VOOPERian people trust that you will get them done, considering if you get elected and you just don't do them? Maybe you're... Go ahead.
I do plan to do these things because I do think it is the best possible thing for the community. Because what I don't see what I gain by promising a bunch of things that I think would be good and then not doing them, even though I can do them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, that's a good response. Would anybody else like to rebut to that? Danny?
Yes,
Would you like to say anything on that?
I would not.
All right. We will move on to another pointed question. This is for Danny. This is a community asked question specifically for you, Dan. What are your qualifications for this position, and what have you done to improve SpookVooper in the past?
My qualifications for this position are I have been an active member of the community, I've worked in the courts, and that's also one of the contributions I've had. I've worked, like, when my previous work in the lower court was very efficient, and I believe I kept the court running very smoothly. I want to do the same thing with VOOPERian.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Danny. Alligate, I have a question for you. Senator Alligate.
Finally.
You have, over many, many years, kidnapped multiple people without legitimate charges. How can the people trust that you won't lead this nation like that? You won't lead this nation with that kind of treatment.
Well, I'm going to answer that question with another question. Why on earth would I kidnap someone as president? Not only would that get me impeached, but it has no gain. See, there's no logic in that.
The logic is you kidnapped people, and I think that that's a little bit concerning of a presidential candidate.
It was basically just you.
And
times.
Ray. Me 2 times and
Well,
Ray.
He was just caught in the crossfire. And besides, that first time, we played chess, and it was nice, and we had fun. It was a boys' night out, that's all it was. Just, in a
It was
dungeon.
a slightly forced boys' night out.
Slightly forced.
We'll-
That's what happens when you don't spend time with me. Come on, Pope.
Alright, we're gonna move on to some more questions. This one has been very controversial lately, and it's been a big focus of a lot of things. How do you plan on regulating the population imbalance? And what is your opinion on the population growth ban? We'll start with Alligate.
Sorry, could you repeat the question? I was too busy laughing at something Dan said.
Sure, I said, how do you plan on Sorry, that is really funny. That's funny. All right. The question was, how do you plan on regulating the population imbalance, and how do you plan on ensuring that all districts are active and have their own lore and, can stabilize themselves?
Well, that is a very good question, because I do have a plan for that. See, we do need districts to be slightly imbalanced, because we will never have a perfectly equal population. That just doesn't make sense. But we also need the smallest district to still have enough people where it can function. Which means I would like to give the DAB a lot more power, because right now, when people advertise, they can't really do anything. They can sue, and nothing happens. So I would like to somehow find a way to legally prevent the large districts from advertising and require advertisements for smaller districts. In fact, I would also like it if the imperial government itself participated in advertising the smaller districts. And I also think that giving lore and government systems to the small districts will help them grow as well, which is something I will personally help any senator with.
All right. Thank you, Alligate. Danny, it is your turn.
All right, sorry, please. Could you please repeat the question?
Sure.
So you're talking about like district growth, right?
Yeah. I was saying, how do you plan on regulating the population imbalance?
All right, so the population balance. So I do believe that is an issue, and I do believe that the advertising ban. I don't believe it's been too effective, to be honest, because like the bigger districts still have been growing. So I think we do need to do more work and do something different than the advertising ban. Like maybe even like giving like just more funding to the smaller districts to advertise. A lot of the districts just don't have governments at all, so I do believe we should work with them to create proper government somewhere.
All right.
Sorry, So sorry, Peter. How did I lie, Peter?
Wait.
Samvoop has been losing people, yes, but Medieval have still been growing.
Which is interesting. We're just going to move on to Tycho. Tycho, the question is, how do you plan on regulating the population imbalance?
Well, I do think the advertising ban has been somewhat effective since we've seen a lot of district growth in the past few weeks. Jimmy just told me to say genocide. In the past few weeks, we have seen quite a bit of district growth in districts such as my district, Landon Cove. We're up to like 15 members now. Old King was at like 3 members for a long time. Now it's up to like 6 or 7, I believe. Mm-hmm. It's really quite impressive. I've made a whole graph thing to show off the district growth. I think we passed like 300 total people in district. Oh, sorry, PvP, you're at 8. But it's really quite impressive what we've been able to do, and I do agree with Alligate that we should give the District Advisory Board more power. And I intend to work with the Minister of the Interior more on improving district growth and do things like this.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Tycho. Danny would like to rebut. Go ahead, Danny.
Yes, so Tycho, you were talking about how the districts have how it has been working because the districts have been growing. But wouldn't you also agree that that could be attributed just to the massive growth in members we've had? We've had like what 4x members in the last month. That is like a very big influence in this. And you were talking about like how the citizens total citizens have grown. I don't think the district advisory board has something to do with that. I think it was just member growth.
Additionally, we've doubled the size of this server in less than a month than what we'd had since it was created. The server only reached 1,000 like on New Year's Eve, but just in this first month of January, we've doubled our server population. Just to add on to that, would anybody else? Alligate, you said something.
Can I respond?
Tycho, go ahead.
Well, as you can see in the graph I just posted in general, I believe we can see quite a clear correlation between district growth, and then we can see the slower slope of the greater districts. San Francisco's growth basically stops, Lanecia's growth basically stops, and we can see districts such as Landing Cove increasing greatly. We can see Avalon going up, Nova Stella going up. There's quite a few rising districts out there, and I believe some of this is in part due to the District Advisory Board's ban on district advertisement for the top 2 districts.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Tycho. Would anybody like to rebut to that?
So I still would disagree with this. Like, although it has slowed down, like there are still like a lot of districts who just haven't been growing yet still. And like with Landing Cove in particular, a lot of people have been joining Landing Cove because that's where like a lot of active people are. Like I joined because you were there, you and Silly were there, and Pitoro was there. I just joined because of that. Like it's not particularly because Lanesia hasn't been advertising to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't think you would care if they advertised to you anyway, since if you've been in the community for a few years. But when it comes to the new people, I've seen quite a few new people in Landing Cove who just joined the server recently, and I think that's where the ban really counts, since the more senior officials and server members don't care that much about advertisements and just pick where their friends are. And so the ban is more so like that.
All right, Danny, would you like to rebut to that?
So I believe a lot of Landing Cove's growth was just because of that. But I do see why you would think that is why. But I like a lot of the growth has just been new members, and it's rather obvious that a lot of the growth has been new members. And although the slope has slowed down for some districts, it's also like if you look at that chart again, like smaller districts are also shrinking. Like Lanesia is still going up, and some previous going down. But if you look at it, even some smaller districts shrink still. Like with the advertising ban, like it's not because Lanesia and others were just not advertising. It's just because people have been moving around.
That's a completely fair point. Alligate, would you like to say anything?
Why, yes, I would. I feel like the advertising ban would work a lot better if any district except the top 2 would advertise, because they really are not. And the only districts advertising them are other districts because of the ban, which has worked, but again, someone needs to work with the districts to help them advertise.
Mm-hmm. And how do you plan to do that, Senator?
Well, I made an ad for Lanesia. I can make one for every other district in like an hour or 2. And I can also, as president, I can work with all the senators to make law, as I've already said. You know, they need something to advertise first before they advertise.
All right. Thank you, Senator. Would anybody else like to say anything on this population matter? All right, then we will move on. The next question is, what do you find to be your opinion on interdistrict wars? Because there's been a lot of potential conflicts recently. What is your opinion on interdistrict wars? We will begin with Tycho.
Well, I do believe that interdistrict wars are generally bad, and I do believe there are. Well, I think everyone except for Danny here has been involved in an interdistrict war, but yeah, Alligate is one of the main perpetrators of interdistrict war. I'll be honest. He's encouraged me to get into wars. He has caused quite a bit of the Eco conflict. He's caused quite a bit of the Remus conflict, or Romulus, or whatever that island is called now. And I do believe that I've generally been pretty good in not being a warmonger, except for that time we invaded Wootmont, but that makes the border look better. I do believe interdistrict war is bad, and we should focus on better things.
All right, thank you, Senator Tycho. Senator Danny.
Yes, so I think interdistrict wars, I believe a lot of them have just been petty, and a lot of people have just been bored, and I feel like that's some of the reason. Like, if we had more, like I've talked about, more unifying events, and like more unifying our peace, such as like intergalactic things, where like, oh, so there's this X civilization we found, something, they're angry at us. Like, we need to do some more unifying events, and I believe the thing that Celia has been doing has been great, and I believe that's a great unifying event, and we should do more things like that.
All right, Danny, thank you. Alligate, would you like to go?
Yes. So, wars. Wars are seen as bad, because they are. But you all have to admit that if they're managed properly, they can provide very good RP. For example, the Islesian Civil War. That was a solid 3 weeks of content that we had from that. And that was managed properly by Spike and everyone else agreeing to how to do it. So we cannot ban wars. In fact, why would we have a military system at all if we're not going to have wars? It doesn't make sense.
Just really quickly, wars are already banned as part of the Constitution. Go on.
Actually, Jacob pointed out there's a way to get around that, which is quite easy to do, actually, and Voopmont planned on doing it.
All right, Danny would like to rebut. Go ahead, Danny.
So Alligate, so right now you're saying that you, as president, you would support interdistrict war. So as president, you'd support districts going to war with each other?
As president, no. But as a person who is sort of presiding over the RP, yes. Those two are separate. They're not meant to be together.
All right, thank you, Alligate. Tycho, would you like to rebut to that? Considering you have a very strong anti-war stance so far?
War is bad, and I agree with Danny.
Alligate, would you like to respond to Danny?
No, I believe I've made my point.
All right. This is also sort of along the same lines as the previous question. As we all know, there's been a lot of rising tension in Voopmont, between Voopmont and Lanetia. As president, considering a lot of you may have biases, how will you, as a neutral figurehead in Vooperia, handle this situation? We are going to start with Alligate.
I figured that was coming. So I'm going to be completely honest and say that no matter what I do, I would not be seen as unbiased as president in that situation. So in that situation, I would not interfere using my president position. I would leave any imperial interference to the prime minister or the emperor, because I am not about to be corrupt and use that sort of power to kill Voopmont. And that's also for the sake of the RP. We need a good resolution. We need something to happen from this. We can't just have an imperial figurehead step in and stop the whole thing.
I would like to mention that has happened before. Just look at the Remus conflict. Silly stepped in and did, in my opinion, a very good job. Sorry, I just realized I was muted on Discord. I do have to agree, though, not agree, but I do have to add on to that previously, Silly did involve himself and ended up leading to a peaceful resolvement of the Remus conflict. So previously there has been imperial intervention. Just to note. Anybody else want to say anything?
Well, could I respond to that?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So Silly's interference was after several weeks of that had already played out, which is perfectly fine because that means we have a lot of time to develop the situation. And I think Silly might actually intervene in this too, maybe, because he does very much support the Alienation Treaty and the peaceful resolution. But at the same time, I would like to ask him to stay out of the situation for at least another week and allow Voopmont to react.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Alligate. I'm going to move on to the final opportunity for candidates to speak. I will now be giving this time to allow candidates to ask each other questions. So if you have a question of another candidate or you would like to speak to another candidate about anything discussed so far, it is now your opportunity to be able to start and ask that question or make that statement. This is not closing statements. This is merely an opportunity for you to speak or ask another candidate a question. Would anybody like to go?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Tycho.
Danny, do you want to play It Takes Two later?
I would.
Okay, awesome.
All right.
Thank you for the question.
Would anybody else like to say anything or ask any questions to any other candidate?
Could I actually touch upon the Icelandia thing?
Sure.
So I do believe that we should give the districts time, I think the imperial government should stop any conflicts from breaking out, and I think we should give them time to come to resolution. And if they do not, I do think we should intervene within a timely manner, of course. Not obviously straight away. Just give them a little bit of time to work it out. And if they don't, then I believe we should intervene.
Alligate, would you like to ask any questions?
No, but I will say, I agree with Danny on that the imperial government should only intervene as a sort of last resort, and that should also be known so that districts have an incentive to try to figure stuff out and also make it play out.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions for any other candidates? All right. Then we will be moving on to our closing statements. Each candidate will be given 2 minutes to make their closing statement and explain to the VOOPERIAN people, finally, at the end of this debate, why they should be chosen for president of VOOPERIA. We're going to begin, as we started, with Tycho.
Hello everybody, I am Tycho. I am running for president and you should vote for me, I think. I want to go eat garlic bread, but that's not relevant right now. I am running to help support VOOPERIA. I'm here to make it stronger. I'm here to make it better. And I'm one of the most qualified candidates in the field. I have a ton of experience. I'm approaching 4 years of activity. And it's pretty clear that I have I'm capable of doing the things that we need to do to make this community better than it is today. Thank you. I am done.
All right. Thank you, Senator Tycho. Citizen Danny, would you like to go next?
Sure. Okay, so I believe as president, I would be a great choice because I would work together I'd cooperate with others. I've been consistently active for a very long time in the server. So I would work together with other people just to make sure that everyone supports what I'm doing. I want to make sure everyone's getting their voice heard. I also believe that I should work to further unite the districts rather than tear them apart with RP. So more unifying events. I think I want to reform the courts, make them more efficient. I want to make sure Spike has all the support he needs for SV2, and I want to make impeachments less political. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Senator Danny. Senator Alligate.
Yes, hello. So, I would just like to say, for my closing statement, that I am focused on roleplay again. And everything in this community The reason we're having this debate, and the debate itself, everything rides off the back of the roleplay. So if you're going to elect a candidate, make sure that they know what they're doing with the roleplay, or else nothing else will get done. You cannot have laws without a reason to have them. You cannot have an economy without a reason to have it. That is my closing statement.
All right. With that, we will end the debate. All right. I would like to thank all the candidates for such a fantastic debate. I'd like to thank the Imperial Theater for hosting us tonight, and most importantly, I want to thank the people watching us at home tonight. Election Day will be on January 30th, 2022. Please, don't forget to vote in our exit polls. And as a final concluding statement, thank you to everyone watching, and I hope you all have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.